Alright, you're in. You know I have no prep for this podcast, dude.
That's the best way to go, my boy.
I'm a prepper though.
You're really prep usually.
I do a good amount of prep.
But
I talk to Danny Miranda too. Sometimes he
gives you good insight.
Crazy on the
Yeah.
Damn.
I guess well.
This is the most close impression I guess.
Let's go, baby. In the same hammock. Here we are at base camp.
All right.
Loving it.
I guess I'll do my intro.
Yep.
Welcome back to the podcast, Respectfully Inspired with Aussie Films. I like to start off every episode with my why behind the show, which is that I want to inspire you to invest in soul wealth. So not the classic wealth, which is building up your money, possessions, or achievements, but soul wealth, which is changing the way you measure success to relationships and memories. Today, I'm here with Simon Kim.
Hello.
He is a YouTuber. He owns a brand called Sunny Co. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Like to be introduced.
Totally. My name is Simon, Wholesome Simon on social. I love telling stories on YouTube, Instagram, and I love bringing people together. So yeah, we're out here currently at base camp in Bend, Oregon. And yeah, we're going to rip this interview. Love it.
So I know exactly what I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
So Simon, I've watched a lot of your videos and they have this deep, almost journal-esque feeling that you watch it and you get a peek into your mind and there's almost always, I feel, a deep emotional message. Yet in person, you're such a, like, I don't know how to say something. I don't want to be offensive, but you're a spaz. Like you run around like you run around yelling and crazy, but your videos are so soft and I feel like in person you're so loud.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is I've always seen my videos and my content as, like you said, like an intensive form of journaling, an intensive form of like self-reflection. And I think that is the most like vulnerable, soft part of myself. Mm-hmm. I'd say I go out in the world, try to have these experiences. And I even think like more recently I've stepped into more of the role of being more introverted. I started off like extremely introverted when I went through high school and whatnot. And so all the time when I created, it was actually like this almost opposite effect where I was really introverted in person, but then I'd be really extroverted in my videos. And that dynamic has almost shifted a bit where, you know, out here I found that I've loved stepping into my role as someone who just facilitates like good energy in a space. And yeah, I wanted to kind of step more into that. But yeah, I'd say like even making videos now, it's still very much in the regard for an audience of one. Mm-hmm. Like I would say I'm still creating videos for purely myself, and I think that's the space where I get to be more slow with my thinking and reflect more on kind of things that have happened in my life. And I'd say that's kind of why I may seem like I'm running around all the time, like being loud, whatnot. And I love that part of myself, but also it's more of like creating these videos and journaling is more of like a very solitary activity. And that's where I get the most soft version of myself and most introspective for sure.
Interesting. To me, it was a surprise to hear you call yourself an introvert.
Yeah.
Because for the viewers, we are at Creator Camp is your company and it's as extroverted as it can get.
Definitely, yeah.
Just a bunch of strangers coming together and living, and it feels like you know everyone, you have deep relationships. Do you still feel like you're an introvert at heart?
I think so my first 2 years of high school, I was super introverted. I always overthought the things I would say or how to look cool, how to fit into different social situations for sure. I'd say that changed a lot in my last few years of high school and like moving through the world and creating more videos, finding my voice, getting more confident for sure. I would still say that I need a lot of alone time to kind of reflect, and even here I'm feeling my social battery get drained a bit. But I still very much love the like one-on-one situations where you get to really talk with someone and get to know them. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm like super introverted now. I'm probably more extroverted than introverted, but I still think there's sides of myself that exist on both parts of that.
So here's an interesting thought with that. I consider myself an extreme extrovert. And I was talking to Janice is our friend at Creator Camp, and outside of sleep, where do you get rest? And I said, as an extrovert, I feel like I get rest from people. Like if I'm alone working on a video, grinding, even though I'm alone and I'm not moving much and, you know, I mean, it's still work.
Yep.
When I want to go rest, I'm like, I need to go spend quality time with my best friends. That's what rest feels like to me. Where do you get rest?
Yeah, I still think I definitely get rest in a more introverted sense.
Yeah.
In terms of like when I'm alone, I love working alone and getting into a routine. I love going into nature alone, doing like solo trips. I think I very much do get my energy and rest from just being in myself.
Interesting.
Speak to.
How has building a community like Creator Camp changed your life?
It's honestly changed everything for sure. I think like a few years back when I was back at home, kind of the story goes, I had done my freshman year of college. It was during COVID, and then I took a gap year, and I decided to take the year off that next year. And so as all my friends kind of went back to college, partied, found their like new lifelong friends, I was kind of stuck at home in my childhood room, still making videos, whatnot. It was a very lonely time. And in a sense, I think, like, I literally remember sitting on Snapchat, like, watching people at parties, and I'd be like, damn, like, what am I doing? Because I still hadn't gotten that college experience, right? I was making spoken word videos and positive mental health themed videos on TikTok at the time and running a brand. But, you know, all that sounds great, but it was still a very lonely thing. And so, long story short, I'd reached out to some people online. We'd realized that we could meet up, and camp changed everything, and building communities changed everything for me, because I think it gives an opportunity to solve that problem or help someone else out who might be out there alone making videos, and maybe, you know, they're not going to college, maybe their friends are going to college, they're kind of feeling the sense of FOMO or not fitting in, is to create like a safe haven for those type of people and to connect them together. And that still gets me super excited. So I feel like it's given me a sense of more purpose in the world of how do we connect these people and bring them into this family or community.
That sparked a number of thoughts, but I think I'll lead with this one. I dropped out of school a year and a half ago, and at the time I used to make videos in college with all my friends. And so it got to a point where I didn't want to leave college unless I had a good reason to. And the good reason was that I was staying up till 2 a.m. every night editing videos. And it got to a point where the thing that was being sacrificed was sleep. And I don't think that's healthy. And so I left school, and I thought like, oh, I'm going to have so much more time to create. But what really happened is I had a lot more time to create, but I lost my muse, which my muse was the fact that I lived with my friends at college. And I realized that I'm actually not that passionate of a creator. I'm more passionate about people. And so when it came to making videos alone, it was really, really unenjoyable. And the other thing I realized is like back in high school, the reason I looked up to YouTubers was because I was kind of more of a depressed, lonely kid, and these YouTubers felt like my friends. And so I wanted to start YouTube to make other kids feel the way that these YouTubers have made me feel. But there was two issues. Was one, that the YouTube videos I used to watch they weren't in style. They like vlogs aren't the thing. It became all about spectacle, all about beastification. And so it felt like I want to be this light that these YouTubers were to me, but that format doesn't even work. That's what I felt like. And I left school and I just felt so alone. And that's when I found Creator Camp. And it was funny because I never got recommended any Creator Camp video. Not your video, not Ryan's video, not Chris's video. I ended up seeing Chris's Forbes video because someone of my friends posted on their story. And I was like, there's a whole world where people are making content that feels like that content where, it made me feel less lonely. And I remember a couple of years later, I started to sort of enter this world. And it was the day that I would have graduated. And all my friends had their caps and gowns on. And I didn't have any numeric success like you. And I remember feeling really sad, not because my friends were graduated, like I'm so happy they graduated, but it felt like those caps and gowns felt like 2 years of memories that I chose not to have. And I texted Chris, and Chris who for the viewers, Chris is Simon's co-founder. He said like, you sacrifice now so you can have an exponential life later.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because on one hand, I so strongly agree with what you said, because now I'm here at base camp and this has been one of the best weeks of my life. And I know that most of my friends from high school will never experience anything like this.
Yeah.
But on another hand, I don't agree because I don't like the idea of success being in the future. That I think whenever you say like, if I get 1 million subscribers, then I will be happier. If I get my dream house or my dream car, or if I make a banger video, I will be happy. And so it was just kind of interesting. And I know I'm ranting right now, but the Elliot Bisnow's a author and entrepreneur we look up to. The quote that shattered my life, this guy knows billionaires all over the world. He's been on the craziest adventures. He's one of the most successful people I've ever heard of. And someone asked him on a podcast, what is the best part about being an entrepreneur? And this guy bought a $40 million mountain when he was 25. And he said, the best part about being an entrepreneur is having co-founders. And it made me want to quit YouTube right that second. Because although sometimes people would appear in my videos, all of it was alone. I would plan it alone. I'd film it alone. I was the main character. I would edit it alone. And pretty much I was the only one who cared how it did. And I was just like, I don't want to... If you generated 10 million subscribers for me right now, but this was my process, I would not enjoy this. And so I switched to the podcast because at the very least, I could share this with you. Long-winded way to say, what has having co-founders meant to you?
It's really interesting because even through running my brand Keep It Wholesome in the early days of like everything, I've always had a really hard time of hiring or like sharing this thing with other people. And I realized this recently. I've really had a hard time grasping or empathizing or feeling the idea and believing in the idea that other people can care about this thing as much as I do. Like even camp, for example. Like I think when seeing some of the workshops, seeing Janice and Jeffrey's workshop, it got me really emotional because I'm like, damn, like they care about this thing as much as I do. And that's still a weird thing because I can never be in their shoes. I can never be in your shoes and feel like the emotions you feel towards camp, right? But I've always struggled with that. And I think having co-founders, it kind of helped me break through that, and I'm still working through it. But the fact that, hey, like, you don't have to do this alone. Same feeling you were talking about in terms of like, oh, like this gets a little easier when you have other people. Obviously, it's really difficult overall to like work with other people, or maybe this is all your baby. You have different like opinions, diverse thoughts, but at the end of the day, that's a great thing. I think initially, like working with different co-founders, they're some of my closest friends now. It's made me appreciate doing things together with other people a lot more. And in that same vein, like you feel extremely tied because you're held together by this belief in this one thing, this one project, this one idea. And that's been a really powerful thing for sure.
It's really interesting. And I love that you acknowledge that you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes. Danny Miranda, who's a podcaster I look up to, he once told me X Factor is like a reason someone watches your content and a reason they come back, like what you have to offer them. And he told me a good X Factor is something that people will share without your involvement. So I hope that people share the word soul wealth and what it means.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I find myself outside of camp, like, and even with Chris specifically, like, so often I just want to tell people about Creator Camp. I'm just like, dude, like the other day, this girl, who's another YouTuber at STSU, I mean, she's just making like little dorm door videos, and she's like, do you know, she sent me a screenshot of Chris talking about Creator Camp on LinkedIn. She's like, do you know this kid? And I was like, oh boy, do I know that kid? I'm like, I have I'm gonna change your life.
Yeah.
You're like, but that's like what camp gives you. It gives you this friggin' light where you're just like, wait till you understand. And with that thought,
that's so interesting. I've always thought about that, like this video that recently came out by this director Wesley Wang on YouTube, and it was so freaking good. It's like everyone is sharing that shit around within like the first 30 minutes. Like everyone knew about it, everyone DM'd him. And it's like stuff like that where make something or make an experience or make whatever, everything so great and personable and put so much care into things that like they have no choice but to share it with 5 of their friends. And if you do that, I truly believe, you know, whatever you're doing will end up impacting a lot of people and doing great.
Wait, just so they can watch that.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Nothing except everything.
Nothing except everything on YouTube. Yeah. Life-changing video.
Very impressive.
I don't know because I haven't watched it, but
you gotta watch out.
Everyone's telling me this.
Yeah.
You know why I think camp worked? So I can't remember the statistic, but something like 95% of people's first companies fail, but camp's been and hopefully will be successful.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems so obvious because I heard a Thomas Dazier Theory quote that said, or Matt Dazier Theory quote that said, I think most people become a creator because they don't feel like they fit in their world. Whether their world is the little high school they go to or their home and with their family, like for some reason they don't feel like they belong to who they're surrounded by. So they go, I want to make a world for myself online. I'm going to start making these videos, attracting my community. And, you know, people can gain followers or they can not gain followers, but and oftentimes we look at these people with lots of followers and we think, oh, like this person's got lots of friends. They're famous, they're DMs, but in reality, what they do is they got lots of time at their computer working all the time. And sometimes creators with lots and lots of followers are some of the loneliest people.
Definitely.
And loneliness is already a problem, but I think it's an even bigger problem in the creator world because of that illusion that, oh, these people have friends, but they actually don't. Like, not that they don't, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Definitely.
And Creator Camp literally said, let me take a group of people, creators, that are some of the loneliest people on earth and give them a solution. And it's also so interesting too, because I was talking with Nate. Nate is my roommate at Base Camp. I was talking with Nate about how when you take the creator road or you take the entrepreneur road, it feels way less secure. Like at a 9 to 5, you know, as long as you don't F up or there's not huge company cuts, that your job's going to be there. But you can be hot in the algorithm one day and you can be cold in the algorithm the next day. But I was thinking recently, I actually have this like confidence that it's going to switch. I have this confidence that office jobs or we'll call them regular jobs, which aren't bad, but I have this confidence that they're going to be the less stable ones. And here's why, is that I think AI is rapidly approaching, and most office jobs live primarily in Google Sheets or through algorithms, computers. And so I think that they're going to get optimized. That AI is going to enter the creator world. It already cuts up podcast clips. It writes scripts. But the thing that's gotten worse and worse since the dawn of AI is depression, is lack of community, is lack of love, is loneliness. And so I always tell people, like, in the short term, I feel much less stable because a creator job is much less stable. But in the long term, I feel really stable because the goal of Soul Wealthy is to reach the lonely, is to reach the depressed.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about what you're doing. And I actually think that in a way it is stable.
Yeah, I've had to think a lot about that since dropping out of college in terms of like financial security and just like all these questions. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we've seen this in this past year or two, this return to analog, and it's happening in culture in terms of like people, you know, coming back to physical events or like really trying to like, you know, you'll see all these videos like pop off, and there's a reason why they pop off on YouTube. It's like not using my phone for a year, like an update, you know? And it's interesting. I think what's going to be really cool is to see how much I mean, technically in theory, human behavior should affect these algorithms. Like if people start liking more analog, slower paced videos, whatnot, then the algorithm should shift to kind of show that. And I think that's been happening. But yeah, it's interesting. I think we're at a really cool point in time. And Creator Camp as a whole is just a bunch of like 20-year-olds, whatnot, trying to figure it out because for the first time, you know, in history, we can be able to do this and tell these stories. And yeah, another thought in terms of like the idea that creators all come together because they're misfits in a sense.
Yeah.
Or I had a really good conversation with Freddie here talking about his history and like how he got into creating. And I'm realizing a lot of people get into creating as a way to kind of almost like heal their trauma or get over something or it's their escape, right? And that's something that I found pretty consistent through everyone's stories that I've talked to. But what's even more interesting now is I'm trying to figure out like, okay, if you have to record podcasts, if I have to make videos, if Freddie needs to take pictures as therapy to become quote unquote normal or like be good in the head, how do we get to a place mentally where we don't even have to do that? For example, like a trip I'm going on in December, I'm going to really try to just like not have my laptop, not have my camera, whatnot. Like how can I get to that point where I don't need this form of therapy to be quote unquote normal or be good in the head? And that's like the next leap for me.
That's interesting. And it sparks a question.
Yeah.
We both have experience in vlogging. I vlogged for 3 or 4 years before my podcast, and I know you vlog still. Do you think that having a camera in these special moments and recording everything makes them less valuable?
I don't think so. It's always like, you know, I don't think it's as black and white as people say. I think I look back to going on a road trip with my best high school friends, making a video for that. That felt like the greatest present I could ever give them. We all watched it together.
Yeah.
I think for me, like having the camera out gives me an opportunity to appreciate these things better because I'm like, oh, this is really pretty right now. And you get to stop, pause, you know, maybe film something. But I also understand the negative effects of it. I don't think it's black and white. I think in some cases, like, you need to put the camera down. Some cases you don't. And ultimately depends a lot on the people you're around. Like out here, like, I think it's pretty chill. Like everyone gets it, everyone's creating. Like it's kind of fun to whip out the camera. But even if you're like, let's say with people who aren't recording and whatnot, you don't want to be taken away from that group because you have to whip out the camera. So yeah, I think it's very complicated. I wouldn't give a straight answer to that.
It's really interesting because like the two juxtaposing scenarios that come to my mind are people when they go to concerts and they put like 40 videos on their Snapchat story. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like you could just find a video of the concert online and or you could ask any of your friends. But then there's a time where like we were at base camp and we all went to the last Blockbuster in the US. Yeah. And there's 40 people in the last Blockbuster all with their camera out. And I remember just feeling so grateful, not just to see the Blockbuster, but to be with all those creators, because it was like someone's doing a photo shoot in one alley of the Blockbuster. Another person's like recording videos. Everyone's throwing on the merch and the bucket hat. And I do think to a degree, even if you're a very real person, like you perform for the camera. My conversation probably wouldn't look maybe as deep if I wasn't on the camera. Sometimes it will, but I think that performing for the camera, yeah, like you said, it's not as black and white. And I used to always say about vlogging, I don't vlog because I have an interesting life. It's not like I'm this Leonardo DiCaprio, like I have all these crazy things, so I should start vlogging. It was like, I don't vlog because I have a crazy life. I vlog so that I can have a crazy life. Interesting. Because you want to perform for the camera, and people think that's fake, but I think it's all about like your heart and your intentions. And like you said, when you went on that road trip, shout out Project West, you guys should all watch his film about friendship on YouTube. Just one of my favorite videos of yours. I had done a road trip and I had filmed it, and when I watched what you did, I wished I had done it your way, but even just like it made me happy that I filmed anything with my friends, because I still have friends in college who my videos have never blown up, but I have my friends in college who say like, I rewatched the vlogs today, and you know, it is like, I love that idea of thinking of it like a gift, creating this special moment. A little topic switch. I don't know too much details, so I'm just gonna ask you.
Yeah.
What did building that school, was it in Africa?
Yeah, Malawi.
Malawi, what did building that school, how did that even come into fruition, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so the story goes, I saw it on TikTok in early 2020. This was around maybe like a year into that. And I saw this trend. Some people might remember it, but this trend on TikTok where people would get luxury goods like Louis Vuitton, glasses, bags, whatnot, just like absurd stuff. It was all satirical pretty much, but it'd be like, hey, if everyone watching this Venmos me $1, like I can buy this.
Yeah.
And there's like a little trend for a second there. And so my thought was like, okay, can we do this to like raise money for something, right? And so I go out. At the time I had like maybe 100,000 followers on TikTok, whatnot. All focused on like positive mental health topics, and it was during COVID, so it's kind of like a more mellow part. Like the kind of the feeling in the world wasn't great, right? And so I thought this was a good opportunity to show that like, hey, these random strangers scrolling online can make a difference. So the first thing I did was we did a video like, hey, and it was so sketch. I was like, I just like put my Venmo in it. It was like, everyone Venmo me, like whatever, I'll donate, and let's see how much we can raise for Feeding America.
Yeah.
It's a nonprofit. I raised like $120 in 24 hours. But after that, I was like, okay, the thing about maybe doing a fundraiser like that is it won't go viral. It won't get a ton of clicks, and it won't raise that much money because there's no crazy story.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there, and I remember vividly like talking to my parents, and I realized, and I don't know why my brain went to this, but how cool it'd be if like random strangers online just scrolling on TikTok could donate money and build a school in a developing country. And so that in its sense made sense because it's a big enough goal where it seems a bit outrageous that could just catch on. And so that was my thought process, and I Googled how to build a school and build on nonprofit I've been working with for a while. Great people there showed up, and I started making videos kind of going across the topic of, hey, you stumbled across this video randomly. I have these 60 seconds with you, and I believe that we together can make a difference in kind of a more lonely, tough time. And that's kind of how it started. And I made a GoFundMe. People started donating. And I remember about a few weeks in, around, I was posting like every day about this, telling the story. We had raised like $1,000 or something like that. Maybe like, a few weeks in. And I was like, crap, like we're not on pace. And I guess I was naive in that sense. I wanted this to happen real quick.
Yeah.
But obviously raising $30,000 doesn't happen overnight. And I remember being a bit discouraged, but I continued posting, and one of the videos blew up, went pretty viral, and it jumped to like 10,000. And then I kept making videos, and it slowly jumped up. And I got a video with like 6 million views, and it jumped up even more. And people kept donating and starting to support. Some people even made videos under the sound, and this whole thing. And eventually it was like, maybe 2.5 months in, we had hit that $30,000 mark, donated the money, and then, they built the school around a year later because COVID, and then a year after that, I was finally able to visit. So it was a real process. It was a bit difficult because COVID at the time, but it was cool to see just random strangers online donate $1, $5 to support the cause, and that trip was for sure life-changing.
So how much do you keep up with the school now, and what did it feel like when you visited it in person?
So I went on Trek, which is a build on. Essentially, it's like how you go out and you help them build a school for a few weeks. It was really impactful. First of all, because I'd been working with a lot of mental health nonprofits for a second and been raising money for them. But these are like big organizations where you don't really know where the money's going, and not to shine it in a negative light, but that was eye-opening for me to go on that trip because you saw directly where every dollar was going, into the bricks, into the mortar, everything, into the contractors.
Yeah.
It was special for sure, and it's why I want to work with Build On, for as long as I'm alive. And if I, ever get to the point where I have a spare $30,000 lying around, I'd love to build another school, And being there was eye-opening. It's kind of one of those things where you had to go on that trip because, it was just special. It was very emotional, just to see what you can kind of do and what people can do online.
Did seeing that level of poverty and like disparity in the country help you to feel more grateful and happy?
It's interesting. I I guess like breaking down my thoughts during and after the trip. In a sense, it actually like I don't think it made me feel more grateful. It just made me like fired up to see. It made me motivated to like continue working hard to like somehow make a change in the world.
Yeah.
It made me really like. It made me really excited to keep working with Build On and like see the work they're doing and build sustainable schools. Obviously, like a sense, seeing that level of poverty was really difficult, and like it does make you feel grateful and think more about like what you're spending your money on and all this stuff. But you know, at the end of the day, I think it motivated me to an extent of like, okay, I need to like come back. I need to do this with the guys. We need to build a school, and you know, that is still one of the biggest goals I have in my life is to like build 10 schools with Build On.
Wow. I think the biggest takeaway for me here is a lesson that's been repeated to me many times in my life, probably first through Chris and then Elliot and then Danny and now you is, if you want the support of others, if you're trying to get people to rally with you, you got to create a story people want to be a part of. And in the case of Danny Miranda, he's telling me that in all his podcasts, he frequently mentions that he wants to do a live podcast in Madison Square Garden. And that the idea is sometimes he'll have guests who are on the fence, but they'll hear about this dream and they'll picture like, oh, damn, this guy's selling out Madison Square Garden, so they want to be a part of it. And when Elliot sent me to walk 200 miles across Spain, when I came back, it felt like everyone was on my team. And it was like, well, it made sense because it was a great story. And that's like what you guys are teaching me with the whole Keep It Surreal is that like you guys have such a great story from Chris sneaking into Forbes, from the Wholesome house in Montana. I feel that everyone wants to be a part of your story. Could you elaborate on the keep it surreal mentality?
Yeah. So, and that's really interesting because I think that's where the disconnect is in my mind, where I like take part in other people's stories and I root for them.
Yeah.
I still find it hard to believe that people do that for me, and I think that's something I need to work on. But to the essence of like keep it surreal, it's like something that a friend James or something that Elliot Bisdow said, and it's something. It's something that we've encountered throughout life, and even more of a. And in more of like, I guess a way I've been thinking about it recently is, you kind of spoke on this earlier as well, is like I see life as you have a central path. So we're all born into like circumstances, whatnot. And in a sense, because of those circumstances, there's a predetermined route that is like most likely, right?
Yeah.
Like go to college, graduate, whatnot. Maybe not go to college. Maybe like you're in an unfortunate circumstance where you're not afforded these privileges, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's like grooves in a sledding hill. It's like a tree of life. And I find that the more you deviate from that path, the more you open up options and choices that you can make that are so far from that path that they kind of feel surreal or kind of like wild. And that's something that we've kind of adopted. I thought about a lot, especially Chris, in terms of like, how do we make moments feel really surreal? I know James loves to take it on as well, of like, people say keep it real, like stay rational. Like, how can we be delusionally optimistic towards our future and build situations, bring people together where it kind of feels like a fever dream, or, not like real life, and expanding the horizons of what we believe is possible. Has been something just like a theme that we've seen through the journey of all of this, just stumbling through life and opening, like running into doors that we thought didn't exist.
It's interesting you bring up James, because I did a podcast with him, and he had said after he collabed with Mr. Beast, which Mr. Beast is obviously the biggest YouTube creator, and James is just a TikTok creator, and he said, like, the reason I was able to do that is because I'm borderline delusional. Like, I believed it. And now he's told me on the podcast, like, I believe I will collab with Elon Musk. It's so interesting how, I hate to call someone like the average person, but the average thought process is that, like, you have a thought and maybe it's a big dream, and you immediately smack it with rationalities. Like, all right, but what are the logistics? What are the, like, and people get discouraged. But like, since being in the camp community, since meeting Chris, my instant thought has like switched. I've been like trained to immediately be like, let's just start
Yep.
and then figure it out. And
Figure it out.
that's been, it's just a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone like that creates or is in a field where it's statistically very improbable to succeed will need a sense of delusional optimism. But it's something I've been thinking about recently in relationships, in life, in work. But there are also like negative aspects to being delusionally optimistic, where you can kind of mitigate problems and feelings of others, which I've been working through. But yeah, I've noticed that trend throughout everyone here. They're probably ridiculously optimistic because you have to be, because if you're taking a path or you're gonna get beat down, you're not gonna last long if your own internal like monologue is taking a crap on yourself, you know.
I have an interesting question.
Yeah.
So lots of times we in life will idolize someone. Maybe it's like someone you look up to, it's an author you like, a YouTuber you like, and we'll be so eager to be in a position like them.
Yeah.
And then we'll find out they're not really that happy, or they're not really that joyful, but we're just seeing what they put online. There was a point where when I really wanted to go to Creator Camp, but I couldn't go, where I kind of looked at the company that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've come to my own confidence and own understanding that like the path I'm on is exactly where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
How would you say, as a founder, is your happiness or overall joy before Creator Camp, just like as a kid in high school and college, and after Creator Camp?
That's an interesting question. I haven't thought about that too much.
Yeah, but it's around there.
My initial reaction is to say that my happiness has increased a ton since being in this community or finding other like-minded people or like-hearted people. But I couldn't tell you. I don't know to what extent like happiness, like it's just a weird concept to think about. Can happiness or your max amount of happiness increase? You know, I would say that I've had more of like a feeling of community and feeling that I'm not alone. And I don't think that's happiness necessarily, but it's that understanding and that courage that I need to take the next step. So I think it's more of a feeling of not feeling like I'm alone, I would say.
So almost more focused on how it mitigates negative emotion rather than how it adds to your happiness.
100%. And like there are always people I can talk to and things like that. I would say it's helped me deal with issues and problems that I would have dealt with alone in a more communal way.
So you slipped something in, some sneaky gold in what you just said.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the audience what is the difference between like-minded and like-hearted?
Yeah, so this comes from Kenny, who met through James in Utah. He's a producer. And he dropped this bar, which I thought was sick. But essentially he talked about the idea that like diversity in thought is super important. So a lot of people say being like-minded is a good thing, but actually not being like-minded is probably the best for the group to come up with the best solutions, whatnot. If you're in, you know, back in the day, if you were in nature trying to like survive as a caveman, for example, like if you all came up with the same like ideas, you probably wouldn't survive, right? So diversity in thought is really important. And he dropped something where he's like, okay, not everyone's going to have the same mindset. Me and you have a different mindset where we think about different things. But at the end of the day, like finding like-hearted people is actually really important. That's something we've taken to heart at camp. Like, how do you share the same heart and the same core values and same values of community and love and those things? And if you bring those people together, they might not all be like-minded, but it'll lead to a greater outcome overall.
Yeah, I love that concept of being like-hearted. And on that topic of being like-hearted, I just spent a week with you guys with all these creators, and some of them have as little as I'm probably on the littlest end, which is 500 subscribers, and some of them have 1 million subscribers. And me and Nathan have been talking in our room about how if these people weren't following you on Instagram, I wouldn't even know, because everyone here has, I don't even sense a smidge of ego or smidge of pride. how have you like created that culture? Because I've been to many creator events. I mean, I'm from California and LA and stuff, so I've had the opportunity, and it's nothing like this where the ego is just unsensible.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because the first time I met like Max and Ryan, like I had like 10,000 subscribers, something. I like hadn't started on YouTube, and like I looked up to them a lot because they had built their audiences, but there was never that sense of like competition.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. I think it's something to do with picking the right people, picking people with the same like-hearted values. It has a lot to do with that, but then also like the principles of setting the intentions, and it has to do with a lot about the people and how you pick the people and how you bring people into the culture that kind of fit the culture in that sense, that are like-hearted. I've never been able to literally think about that though, and I wonder why that is, but I've never felt competitive with anyone else. I think it's because everyone is doing such a unique thing. Everyone has found kind of their voice in a sense, or like doing their own thing on their own path, so that it doesn't really feel like, it feels like everyone in a sense might be going to be a YouTuber, might be going to be a podcast, might be doing similar things, but they're doing it in such a unique individualistic way that there is no competition. Because like the Naval quote, like escape competition through authenticity. If you find authentic people and bring authentic people together, which I think we have, there's no competition, and maybe that's it.
I also think it could be a continuation of the like-minded versus like-hearted. Is that if people were like-minded here, they would all be creating the same content.
Yeah.
But they're not like-minded. That's why you have a podcaster and someone making journals and someone making music. But the like-hearted, your heart is with your values.
Yep.
And like you guys, as the 4 creators, like I think you guys all are very humble, and you seek the similar hearts, and therefore you're able to find people. And I guess I don't know. That's just my theory, but I think it's a good continuation.
Definitely.
Another thing I'm interested about is you have this brand all around mental health, and you've created mental health content on TikTok, on YouTube. I think it's very rare that people just do that if they haven't struggled with mental health. Did you ever go through a really bad period?
Yeah, I would say it's crazy because when I first started on TikTok, I was in a really tough place because I'd not had a creative outlet in a while.
Yeah.
And something I struggled with a lot. I remember having like my first breakdown in high school. Like it was bad, like junior year of high school, like crying on the bathroom floor. Like it was really bad, where I just felt the pressure of the world on me. It's hard because I think you block out a lot of things back then. I would never say I was like extremely depressed or anything, but I went towards people like Miles Carter, Montel Fish, people that did spoken word videos as a place of comfort, and I just wanted to provide that for other people. I remember even like during Montana, like I had a really bad spurt in my own mental health because I felt like I was floating through life, wasn't really grounded to anything. It's a concept we talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And I wrote a note that was like really hard, and I keep it on my notes. It's actually pinned.
Yeah.
Just for myself to see that things do get better. And I wrote it when I was in kind of like the hardest point of my life so far. And yeah, I think, you know, everyone kind of goes through certain things and goes through life. And I've always had this idea that, especially when I was struggling with my own mental health, like even though we're very vulnerable with our mental health now, it's still like not a full picture of exactly how much we actually do struggle. I think typically people do struggle a lot, and that's just generally us like trying to navigate life. But I'd say, yeah, definitely those early days, the hardships I went through contributed to like the reason why I wanted to start going down that path.
So I know you're probably not done with mental health problems. I'm sure they'll probably come in and out of life. But is there any like core concepts you learned that are things that help you get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, so this is interesting because so for a while my content was like, you know, videos for positive, like just to like push people towards thinking a little positive, having a positive impact on them. And for a while I would talk about topics like anxiety or depression, but that wasn't great for me because when you make a video about depression, you like put on sad music, you like get yourself in a depressed mindset. Like that's not the greatest thing. And so that wasn't sustainable. When I realized a lot of mental health content, it kind of ends up being like a cycle where people kind of go into it, and maybe like you, at the end of the day, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
And kind of what got me out of my slumps mentally was two things: going to the gym and getting outdoors in nature. I fell in love with camping, seeing nature, seeing the world, and disconnecting. Those are two things that I know for a fact will help anyone, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
And so that's why I started to shift my content. Instead of talking about these topics directly, why don't I just show people like how I'm living through life and the things that are helping me through telling these stories. And so now I love like focusing on brands like Sunny Day and whatnot, because they convince people to, go outside and take a break and disconnect, which I believe in turn will enhance like the mental health of our generation. And so it's almost like showing people things that have helped me, because, I'm not a therapist. I can't speak on a lot of these topics, but I can show people my own experience. And I think that's led to me having getting in a better place, is those things like going to the gym, nature, and definitely community as well.
That's really interesting, because my favorite genre of music is sad love music. And I started listening to music in high school, and I actually, much like you, my junior year of high school, I was a very depressed kid. I put a lot of happiness in females. So if I liked a girl and she didn't like me back, I was like, oh, I'm sad. But and you mentioned too about how mental health has become a more talked about topic.
Yep.
And part of me is like so happy about that, because people feel less alone. But part of me actually doesn't know if it's useful, because what I realized with my favorite genre of music, which is sad love music, is that while I love the way it sounds, I love the relatability of it, I realized that the more I listen to sad music, the more sad I feel.
Yep.
And I realized maybe it's the same way with mental health content, where it's like, if you're constantly consuming content about how to get better for mental health, it's also subconsciously telling your mind that you are who you say you are, which is a depressed person, or you're a person with anxiety. Yeah. And I think even the same thing could be drawn out to medicine. And I'm not telling anyone to not take medicine or to take medicine, but when you have medicine for these drugs or for these problems, it's like a reminder sitting on your desk that like, I am who I say I am, which is a depressed person. And that's what I feel the same way as you, where like I used to want to make content where I'm like, I want to make content where the depressed version of me could relate to this, or the depressed kid out there. Yeah. But now I don't. I want to make content that like looks exciting and fun and happy, so that people want that rather than want relatability.
Yeah. It's like the adage of like, I don't know, and I haven't thought about this too much as well, but like, to what extent do you acknowledge a problem by acknowledging that there's a problem? How much are you creating by acknowledging that there's something missing, or maybe by the content you consume are saying that you are that type of person? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of the range where I kind of tap out, where I'm like, I'm not experienced enough to talk on it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, recently I followed under the idea of like, instead of like looking up to idols or specific people as inspiration, I've looked to more emotions, and how can I be a warm ball in a room when I walk in, or how can I really make people feel great inside, or be like sunshine essentially. And I think that's part of the reason why like this week I've been so hyper and trying to like bring people together. It's like, how can I be that ball of energy that makes people feel a little bit better, and maybe that reflects in the content as well, of like, how do you just change someone's perspective by 1% or make them feel a little bit better.
So you mentioned during your depression spout you had watched some spoken word, and I know that after a recent breakup, you started writing poetry. You almost sold a poetry book. Yeah. Why is poetry therapeutic, or what does poetry mean to you? I don't even know if it's therapeutic. What is it to you?
Yeah, I mean, poetry to me, it's always been interesting, because I realized I love fitting pockets of words within like music, since I did my like spoken word stuff. Like, you're off by like a millisecond and it doesn't sound right in your head. It's like, crap, like I need something there to hit. And I can't explain why, but that's something I've loved. And I don't know, I think immediately after that relationship ended, I just turned immediately towards writing as my way of expression. I can't explain why, but it just kind of like happened. I started writing little bits of poetry and things like that. And poetry to me, and writing in general, is just my way of processing the world in a state that's not as out there. It feels more personal, because like when I'm doing a video, it's like out there, When I'm writing, it's kind of like a notion page on the side, like, it feels like it belongs to me, and it's very personal. And that's why I've been taking up writing and poetry. It's kind of my home little oasis away from everything else, and that's why I've kind of fallen in love with it.
Interesting. You have a brand called Sunny Co.
Sunny Day.
Sunny Day. Oh, my bad. What is your plan with that brand?
Yeah, so Sunny Day it's a coffee company I started with one of my closest, like, basically he's like an older brother to me. He's a mentor, Brian. And we had both kind of been in the same spots in life of like leaving projects. I'd taken a break on my clothing brand, and he had taken a break from like working for other people. And he started this company called Sunny Day, named after his daughter Sunny.
Yeah.
It was just born this past year. And the coolest thing, I think, for Sunny Day was a way for me to kind of build this brand, this ideology of getting people outdoors, whatever it may be, going on a hiking trip, whatnot. Because for me, again, that philosophy goes back to like where I'm super aligned of, that's how I got out of my bad mental health spouts. This is what helps me. This is what can help other people, is just getting outdoors, right?
Yeah.
And so Sunny Day is a coffee brand, but it's also just an outdoor brand and an ethos and a way of living more analog and disconnecting and getting people more outdoors, which I believe is something I carry very close to my heart.
You might not have an answer for this.
Yep.
But do you think you could explain why getting outdoors helps people?
Yeah, I think your environment has a lot to, it's like your environment affects a lot of how you feel. And there's probably something deep inside us that's just like more relaxed in a more natural state of like the outdoors, right? But I would also say just the idea of like being totally immersed in nature and being away from the phones and the constant stimulation that calms you down and calms your anxiety or whatnot. You know, when you wake up on a campsite, you're not thinking about all the things that are back at home, like you kind of escape. And because of that, and I'd also think like a lot of times when you're outdoors, you're with other people or potentially bringing others, unless you're doing a solo trip. And it's like kind of an adventure. So you have this shared sense of you're going somewhere together with people, which I think is important. But I'd say that it's just like no stimulation. You're kind of able to just breathe and, you know, out of sight, out of mind. Maybe for a lot of things that have been stressing you out, you can kind of like, you know.
I think environment, I don't even think it's just that. I think a lot about the idea of environment when meeting people. There's always outliers.
Yeah.
But think about, what are the odds someone like me or you meets a best friend here? Well, what are the odds someone like me or you meets a best friend in the club?
Yeah.
And it's like, when I was at San Diego State and I was in a frat and I knew it wasn't me, I just felt, like I'm putting myself at a disadvantage by spending so much time in these environments. And it's almost been, I mean, it has been truth in my life that by changing my environment, I change my whole experience. I change the quality of my friends. I change the quality of my friends, the quality of my conversations. And invested, like going to places like this, even when I have almost no money, it's just a no-brainer because of the environment. I know how like fruitful it is.
Soul wealth.
Soul wealth, baby. And speaking of soul wealth, what does success look like for Wholesome Simon?
Yeah, success is interesting. I think success for me, you know, long term looks like me waking up next to someone I love with a beautiful family somewhere. I don't even care what I'm doing with my career, whatever. But like something like I was talking about, that concept of being more inspired by emotions. I'm really inspired by the color yellow, like the idea of like sunlight and the warmth on your face. And you know people that like emit the color yellow when they walk in a room, or the way they talk to you, you feel warm and you feel like they're kind of energizing. And success for me is trying to become more like yellow in everything I do, whether that be my videos, whether that be how I interface with people, whether that be how, you know, I talk to a random person one time on the street. I think that's what success looks like me for now. And I really tried to hold myself to that, of being more like the color yellow and how you imagine that would make you feel inside.
That's interesting you say that, because I looked into color theory for a little bit. And actually, I don't really bring this up that much. And surprisingly, no one asked me why I wear all white for my podcast. But it's because it's a derivative of color theory. And color theory says many things. It's just that if you're in blue, if you're in like gray, cloudy all the time, that you're more likely to be depressed. The cities like Portland and Seattle that have like gray, cloudy weather, you're more likely to be depressed.
Yeah.
Cities that have sunny, blue skies, you're more likely to be happy.
Yeah.
They even say, why is every fast food restaurant red and yellow? Red, yellow, and orange satiate hunger in people. And
Yeah.
white, what white does is, it's first of all, it's a happy color, it's a light color, but it promotes creativity. It feels like a blank canvas. So part of the reason I wear the white on the podcast is because we're not really doing this because we're in a really weird situation in this hammock, but if generally my podcast guest is looking at me, and so I go, if they're looking at a blank canvas, maybe that'll make them more creative.
I like that so much.
Yeah, so I do love the idea of color theory. And actually, this isn't really color theory, but last night someone was interviewing OK Pop, which is a non-Korean Korean pop band that is here.
Yeah.
And our main asked them, if you guys were any color, what would you be? And Roberto said, we'd be brown. And at first they were saying brown because like their branding is brown.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, Roberto was like, we'll be brown because brown is a mixture of all colors.
Sorry.
I just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fun to look at color and like emotion as inspiration, or like what success looks like for you. Because I don't know, it's a little check-in. Make sure you're holding yourself accountable to being that type of person.
Do you think you've been in love before?
Oh yeah, for sure. Been in love in a few relationships. Love with my family. Love with people. You feel moments of love where like your heart kind of flutters. Whether that be romantically or just like in a friend way.
Well, so with that being said, do you think that romantic love is different than love for your parents and different from love for your friends? And why?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, I don't know. But like, I don't know. Let me think about that.
Well, because this is a really difficult question for me because I've had a girlfriend.
Yep.
And I've liked girls, but I don't feel like I've been in love. And the reason I don't feel like I've been in love is because I've seen a million love songs. I've heard a million love songs. I've seen a million love movies.
Yeah.
And I know those are dramatized, but I've talked to my friends over and over and over again. It's not that I'm expecting to feel what they feel. I know that each person experiences love a little differently, but people always talk about this like drunkenness where it's like, you feel some like crazy satiation for a girl or whatever. You know, I've had people I really care about, but I don't feel that I felt in love.
I don't know. I don't even know if like the idea of love is so personal and so unique. I think there's this narrative of like what love should look like, and this is talked about a lot in culture. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit different in a lot of circumstances where I think a lot of love is sacrifice. And, you know, I heard this quote that I thought was really cool. In romantic love is like, love's what you do when, love's not what you do when you feel like it. Love's what you do when you don't necessarily feel like doing something.
Yeah.
Like in that regard, like when you're, you know, going to grab some flowers, but it takes you like 20 minutes out of your, it's like those little sacrifices that add up. I think romantically that's a big thing. And then, yeah, I feel like that in friendships in terms of love is like when people are willing to go the extra mile, just support you or be there for you. And there's some overlap there, but I've definitely felt love for relationships in that aspect, and then love in friendships where my heart kind of flutters. Like even during those workshops the other day, I was like, damn, I feel so much love because like obviously they care so much about camp and this thing in the community. And like even like the other day when we were at the lake just jumping up and down listening to music, I was like, dang, I feel so much love here. And those moments come and go, but I think there's a lot of those in between.
I kept talking about love on my podcast, and people talk about love all the time, and I thought to myself, if I had to define love, like, and I guess like what we just said is that it's hard to define love, you can't really do it, but I always thought like, why am I always talking about love if I don't have my own definition? And so I sat for like an hour once and wrote my Google definition of love. And what I came up with, and and this is love the verb, so like to love someone.
To love someone.
And what I came up was doing something for someone with no expectation of reward that still results in joy. Whereas like if you love someone, you'll do something for them, but you're not expecting anything in return, because that's not love, that's a transaction. And sometimes, most times, it's very sacrificial. But it's like, I give something to you, I'm expecting nothing from it, but because I love you, it gives me joy. And that was the best definition I could come up with.
I like that.
Oh.
The silence.
Yeah.
See, you have a lot of podcast confidence, right?
Really?
In the sense that, like with filler words, so I've been studying speech a lot recently.
Oh, interesting.
And the main reason people use filler words, such as like, is because they feel uncomfortable with silence. It's the idea that if I'm having a conversation and I let it get too silent, it's going to be awkward, or this person's not good. So then they go like, and I'm sure someone could clip me doing this 100 times, but, right.
Yeah, that's
Exactly. But watching you, you're a really good speaker.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I think I'm still somewhat uncomfortable with silence. I'm trying to get
More comfortable with it.
Yeah.
being in front doing this helps a lot. Being from the camera for sure.
I heard that from my roommate Nate that you guys were taking a ride to go get dinner, and you just no consent just hopped on his lap.
Oh yeah, that's fire.
And you,
My boy Nate.
and
Nate Giampo.
he was telling me the story as a good story. He was like, I love Simon, but I didn't know we were that close, and it was just taking that barrier of entry away. And it's so funny watching you guys and your personalities online and seeing you guys in person. Like, dude, and I have to tell this story for the podcast because I'm telling you, this has been one of the best weeks of my life. Went to Blockbuster, seen waterfalls, caves, like just having the best conversations ever. But to me, the most quotable line of the whole thing is so stupid, but it just made me laugh. Was when you came into the jacuzzi and Chris asked you to get a towel for him. He was like, "Yo, Simon, can you get me a towel?" And you're like, "No, please." And Chris was like, "Please employ."
Please is implied.
But it's so funny because the whole idea of the word "please" is that it's not implied. You have to say it. And please imply that. Look, you guys run around saying like, "There's an ambulance." Oh, Nate,
Gio.
Nate, come make a quick feature.
Please is implied.
Go, I'm just talking about your. Oh,
I'm talking about you ass boy.
Whoa. Oh, what up, roommate?
oh, what up? Wait,
Holy, what's going on?
I have to.
no, just.
What's going on? What's going on?
I think of one really good question to ask Simon.
One really good question to ask Simon.
You asked me a question, Nate. What is it?
See, I used up all my good questions in the spring when I asked who had the wettest farts.
Oh, dude, that's definitely Chris, bro. That's definitely Chris. I cannot disclose why, but there was an instance that he became the wettest fart king.
Was it the France mailbox story?
No. I got you, right?
Yeah.
Mary Ryan, Chris, Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would kill...
Yeah.
Wait. I'd kill Chris.
Okay.
I'd marry
Wait.
Ryan.
Okay.
And Max. No explanation needed.
No explanation needed. Can I contribute a good question?
Yeah. Fire. That's fine.
I'm gonna have to go.
I don't know about that.
That's not making the final.
I don't cut anything out, but I might have to bleep over. I do know this podcast has been really serious. Where did you get the language of going?
Or that stuff.
Oh, I don't know if people see that in the videos.
Oh, dude, I want to integrate that more though.
Okay.
But it just started to happen really quick. We just like say all this stuff.
Every time I've hung out with Simon, he runs around. Basically, Simon, everyone has their kind of own dialect and the way they talk. But Simon has his own dialect, but then he throws between every word. Where did the whole thing work?
Yo, so like a lot of it is like it's just like from all over. Like, so like I would say fire in college is like, unironically though, and it's like so funny, is go fire. But like then you like draw it out, right?
Yeah.
And that entered like crazy. We don't say like class and quality because that's based on like footy lingo. But then like Max and the bicobs would go so they added that. So then we like downloaded that, and then we go douche. So that's like when something like crazy or dramatic douche. Do that too. It's like a movie trailer.
Bro, you're a sound
like
effect
you
king.
get like a heartbeat. Like something's intense. So like it just makes life fun, bro. Like just make sound effects wherever you go, bro. It makes it so much more like funny, dude. I love doing that. So now like just because I'm with the guys in Austin, like, and we've been in the same freaking crew room for like a week. Now we just like it just gets crazier and crazier because you just say the same stuff around the same people, and your timing gets like very accurate.
I think on that topic of making life more fun, that's something I really, really think about is how do I interact with my friends and do something different that makes their life more fun or makes this moment more random.
Yeah.
And something I really, really admire is people who are fun texters. Because everyone has friends who just like respond or
Yeah.
and I try to be a really weird texter. So a couple of things I do, which I just want your thoughts on, is sometimes I'll send my friends voice memos and I'll just like freestyle or I'll just sing a song like horribly, like,
Yeah.
and I'll just send it to them, no context.
I like that.
The other thing I use ChatGPT to write like really elaborate text messages to my friends. So it was like my friend's birthday like 2 days ago, and I was like, yo, ChatGPT, write my friend a 3-paragraph essay about how he has changed my life in old English writing. And then like I had another friend in Spain who's gonna meet one of my girlfriends, and I was like, oh, ChatGPT, like write an essay why this interaction will change his life. And I got sent it to
Say that one. That's fine. Yeah.
and it's just so funny. And even sometimes when I'm in group chats, I got someone made a group chat to go like get ice cream or something, and I didn't say a single word. Like I let them all talk for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I made a no word dancing video to What Is Love. I was like, what is love? Baby, you don't hurt.
That's
And I
fine.
just dropped in the group chat.
I like that.
And
then you left.
Yeah, and I just like doing like one of the philosophies that Elliot talks about and Chris is like mystery makes history. I just try to be like really mysterious. I mean, I think Chris and you guys are always being mysterious, and it's just fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Like, want to add a little color to life, you know? All seriously. Yeah.
Is there any really funny stories that you can think of off the top of your head from a creator camp or a that was just like?
You think about this? So there's so many. There's this crazy farting video of me and Chris, bro. Legendary. In Utah before Creator Camp 2. It was crazy, bro. Because, like, so I was just recording, like, chilling. We're, like, working on camp before in the Airbnb. We have all our stuff. And I let one rip, bro. But it's, like, one of those farts where, like, it just keeps going. Like, you know what? It just kept going. And I'd laugh, and it'd go to the laugh. It was crazy. And you can see me cut off in the clip. There's a video of this. It's a legendary clip. And then, like, you see me finish, and then Chris on the other side of the table just lets one rip right after me, bro. And ever since, we've been in sync. Whenever I fart into the house, like, Chris farts right after. Dude, that's literally a video of it, bro. But, like, rare.
Show them or no?
No, that's a secret video. But just know that there's a legendary video out there. And, like, after we're like, holy crap, did you catch it on camera? It's like watching lightning strike twice, bro. Legendary.
I'm not gonna expose Chris like this, but that story with the mailbox.
Yeah, crazy.
That's
bro.
next level.
That was some crazy. Y'all gotta hit him Chris Duncan and just ask him about pooping stories.
If there's anyone this far in the podcast, I want you all to go to @Chris Duncan on Instagram and say poop story France. Just say
No, Italy. It was Italy.
Italy.
Yeah,
Just say tell me Italy poop story.
Yeah. Do that. That'd be
And
fun.
beg him. Don't give up.
Don't give up. That story is legendary. Oh my god. Yeah, but that's one of the funniest ones. Got on camera, but yeah, a lot of funny moments.
I'm almost at my outro question, and thank you for giving me your time.
Totally, dude.
There's an expression I've been thinking a lot about, which is 3 kind of phrases. It says, poetry. It says, the best way to live is love. The best expression of love is time. the best time to love is now.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
So before I ask you my outro question, is there any stories, any tips of life, any philosophies that you have that you would like to share?
I think the biggest thing is just like the idea of like being inspired by emotion and color rather than people or idols. I used to hang up like posters of Kanye and all these people.
I love Kanye.
I love Kanye's music. He's amazing. Like, but like at the same time, and like Rick Rubin, all these like creative geniuses, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Same time, like every human's flawed, right? And if you're trying to be like this person, you like, at a certain extent, it doesn't work in your day to day. Like, how are you gonna be like Kanye in your day to day? It's really difficult. Or how are you gonna be like Rick Rubin in your day to day? And so I came to realize is why not like be inspired by, like I said earlier, the color yellow or emotion that you can actually actionably take in your day to day. That, you know, I see humans as a container for kind of the energy of the world. And let's just say like the river, you see a river out there, that's like the emotion of the world.
Yeah.
And that's a great emotion. Humans are like a little basin where you kind of bottle up some of that water. But like I think we've gotten so focused on like the basins and focusing on that I haven't really looked towards the river. And so I would encourage anyone to kind of look towards that river sometime. Or how do we broaden our view of like what we can be inspired by? Is what I would say is like I've been kind of hyperfixating on recently for that concept.
This is not exactly the same, but something that I've really thought recently about inspiration is like we're always being inspired by people who have accomplished a lot of things. So we look up maybe at Kanye, we look at Rick Rubin, we look at these people and we're inspired by them, but we're only seeing this story they put out, whether that's through music, whether that's thing, but we don't know anything about their lives. Yeah. And one of the things my philosophy recently is try to be inspired by people you really know. Like, I actually say like now, all my biggest inspirations are people I really know now, like Chris. Yeah. Like Chris is one of my best friends. He really inspires me, and like you, I mean, all of you guys as founders, you inspire me. And it's funny, like if someone were to ask me who my inspirations are, I guess I can't be sure that I would say this, but I really believe that I would answer with people I know.
Your friends,
I'd be like, oh, like Chris inspires me in community building. This person, this.
That's cool.
And it's like I know that I can recommend that person and that person, and I know who they're gonna get. Like it's like if I just recommend someone's content or someone I look up to, it could be a great piece of art, but I don't know where that's gonna take you. You know, it's just one inspiration, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Well, on the topic of reverse engineering life and success, my outro question to everyone is:
here we go.
When you die, what do you want people to say about you?
I want people to say that Simon was like a ball of sunshine and touched a lot of people and had a great impact. And yeah, I mean, nothing more than that. I don't like the material success, whatever, it don't matter. I just want people to say that I was a nice guy and brought people together and spread positive energy. And yeah, that's pretty much all I could ever ask for them.
Awesome. Don't leave yet because I want someone to take a Polaroid.
Hell yeah.
Riley! Can you come over here?
Oh, my neck.
Oh, bro, I'm sorry. I didn't realize how uncomfortable
We're good. We got through it real fire.
But
Tell me I lost Spike Ball.
no. Do you want to cameo on the podcast real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Hop in.
I don't even know. That's just. Do you have any questions? Want to say anything before I have you take a Polaroid?
No, I'm good.
This is Riley Fitzsimmons, baby.
You want to see some really
Loser of the Fitzsimmons class.
Yeah. Wait. Should we didn't even mention that.
Oh yeah, me and Ozzy won the Spike Ball tournament. So. We brought you over here to just talk about that. Actually,
That actually wasn't the plan, but
They were solid.
yeah.
we did a Spike Ball tournament today and we won.
Fire, bro.
But speaking of Riley, he makes really cool, unnecessary products on Instagram. You go ahead. What's your Instagram handle?
I got to work on it, but it's at Fitz_Riley.
Fitz Riley, spelled Reilly.
Okay, can you grab this Polaroid?
Can you take a flick of us?
Wait. Go ahead and I'll go ahead and turn the camera off.